Tonight, our first speaker, starting our program, is Sean King. He is from Union Bank, and Sean is a senior UX research specialist at Union Bank, and he knows a whole lot about UX. So I will have him come right up and start the show.
Testing. Wow, I feel like I should be selling timeshares up here with this. There you go. Not fully. I can project. Hello. Oh, that's better. Okay. Well, I think it's disingenuous to call me a financial professional because I've only really been at a bank for like 7 months. Before that, I was with a company called Green Dot, which makes prepaid debit cards. Does anyone know about those? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. I don't know. When I first joined, I was like, what's a prepaid debit card? And then I found out because I was designing a lot of the products across mobile and web, and it was an interesting experience because it's not really a bank. It's geared toward people who may not want a bank. It's geared toward people who may have a bank relationship but want something on the side. I always kind of thought it would be great for going on trips to Vegas because no one could track it, and and please forgive me, I did this kind of last minute, so I'm winging it. You can get the hook on me. But basically, this is the way that I look at the state of banking websites. We're just slightly ahead of restaurants and government websites in terms of usability. All we really need is, like a little cheesy flash intro when you log in, and I think we're there, and we'd be second worst. But I think there's a lot of interesting reasons why that is. It's not a lack of money, right? I think. This is kind of self-explanatory, but and that actually is my boss. So banking is really old, and you have a lot of entrenched habits and thinking and ways of doing things inside of a big bank. Coming from Green Dot, which was like a 300-person company, to Union Bank, which is like a Japanese-owned conglomerate bank, it was definitely a culture shock. And despite my promiscuous-sounding title, I am really not a researcher. I would consider myself to be an interaction designer first, and I happen to run usability tests when they come up. So yes, I can run a usability test, but I'd rather work with someone like Hillary. Or I want my $10 after that. But so my role is interaction design first, and that's the perspective that I'm bringing. And so I probably know less than a lot of you about banking and financial services. So I kind of have this Zen mind, beginner's mind approach to it, and I am constantly scratching my head in meetings. People throw out acronyms. What does that mean? We just did a bill pay research project. We had people bring in their bills, like the actual bills they would pay that month, with their laptop from home. The only reason we couldn't do true ethnographic research in their home is because my manager thought it was really strange that we would go into a stranger's home and sit there and watch them do things in their home. So it is kind of weird when you think about it. But so we had them bring in their bills, and we started talking about what do you think about when you're paying bills? Like, what are the terms that you use? And, what do you think about these prototypes? And by and large, people don't think about adding a payee. When you're thinking of paying a bill, you're not going up, who's the payee for this bill? You're just thinking, I need to pay AT&T or I need to pay Toyota or whoever. So anyway, this kind of centuries-old way of thinking is part of a traditional bank. Going back to money, not the problem. We got lots of money. We charge lots of fees, right? We have a bunch of money under management. We have money that we make from our customers. At my bank, our bread and butter is actually the commercial users. So we have the state of California, whoever, very, very big companies and organizations with lots and lots of assets under management. That introduces a whole new level of usability problems that I don't even want to talk about tonight because I think it's better to focus on average people like us that are not managing billion-dollar checks. But we have all this money. You think that, great, now we can buy all of these analytics and get all these great usability consultants and do all this cool testing. It's kind of a double-edged sword because the more money you have, the less motivation there seems to be to make changes. It's like, well, we're making all this money. Yeah, user experience, that's nice, but we make lots of money, so go make pictures. So this is a big pet peeve of mine. I have a web development background. One of the things that I immediately ran up against in a big traditional bank is the fact that we have apparently deep down, like 3 levels down in the ground, this top secret dungeon of IT guys that are like, I imagine them being like those NASA guys in those old documentaries, like the white short sleeve shirts with the pocket protector and black glasses, running all these old mainframes. You would be amazed how many times this comes up, where we run up against something where we want to do something on the front end, on the user experience side, and there's just a technology constraint. We have an IT team. The way our group is organized is we have IT guys down in San Diego. We're in the e-commerce department where we really focus on the front end, the user experience, but we outsource our front end development. We work very closely with that team, but there's a huge disconnect between what happens on the front end and on the back end. There's tons of legacy issues with technology that make it very difficult to do what you know is right for the user. When you have someone tell you basically, that looks nice, but I don't know how we can make an accordion do this. And then you say, well, here's the JavaScript. It's right here. Well, has that been vetted by security? No. Okay. Well, you have to go talk to security. Who's that? And it's just you end up going down a rabbit hole on a lot of these things, and unfortunately, the user experience is sometimes sacrificed in the process. This is a very scary-looking slide, and it is truly scary. And I know that I'm sure the other 2 guys that are going to be speaking are very familiar with all this stuff. I'm not. I just look at it and I go, I'm glad that I don't do something that involves me actually having to know about this stuff, other than it's going to make things rather difficult, to have a very nice, smooth user experience. This is very accurate, by the way. I ran this by someone in my office, and he said, "Yep, that's about right." We have a real big challenge as UX designers, as interaction designers, as people who are supposed to be advocating on the user's behalf. We have to figure out a way to coexist with this web and still deliver a really good experience that will allow people to understand what it is that they're doing with their money, the status of their money, It's no easy feat, and I'll tell you where this really becomes problematic is when you're trying to get new customers. Because there's so many things you have to disclose, there's so many things that you have to hit them over the head with. I'll give you one specific example. When I first joined the bank, I went through the new account sign-up flow to try it out, about 30 pages in. We ran across a question, and it was asking basically, are you a foreign political official? I thought about it, and I said, no, I don't think so. But I made a note of it. About 6 weeks later, when I had a chance to actually test this new workflow, and we had some help from a really great usability consultant, we brought people in, and guess what? 80% of our participants were like, what the hell is this? Everyone got hung up on that one question. And the vast majority of those people said, why are you asking me what my political party is? People don't read online unless it's an article. They don't read, period, a lot of times. But, I mean, we like to think that when we're crafting these experiences, people are going to take care. It's slightly different in the financial services world just because it's people's money. They're more likely to pay attention. But still, it's really important to focus on language. Like I said before, a lot of times we use these inside baseball terms, open a DDA account, payee. What the hell does that mean? I don't know. I'm trying to set up an account. You're asking me if I'm a foreign political official and all these bizarre terms, right? We have to be really, really aware of that as UX designers. I would say this is 90% of the design work in financial services is communicating what it is that you're doing, the state of the application that you're using, and doing it in like a very, very concise way. Do people read terms and conditions? No. People don't read your instructions. Financial services is kind of an inherently complex thing, but we try to create this illusion of simplicity. And one way we do that, I think, is to fall into this trap where you have large blocks of text. Please notice, warning, caution, whatever. And people don't read it. They're here to get something done. Financial services applications are very, very task-oriented. People are trying to accomplish a goal. They're not going to read your text. So we have to think about that very carefully when we're designing financial services applications, right? This is an old study, and Hillary would probably puke, but this is from 1997. And Jacob Nielsen showed that, in one example, taking a block of text and making it concise, scannable, and objective, having a neutral tone, increased usability by 124%. So this is the kind of stuff that I think we should be focusing on because of a lot of the other constraints that I talked about before. It makes it difficult in many ways to push the envelope in other areas of the user interface. And if you can just make the user interface more clear by having concise, scannable, objective text and really, really focusing on what is the most essential thing. This is why I think the move toward mobile is the best thing that can happen to the banking industry. Because it is forcing us to change our ways of cramming every possible function, instruction, story about cats, whatever, onto one single page, and making us focus on just what's the bare essential ingredients to make this page work. One way we've been doing that is to use the obvious, easy, impossible approach. Does anyone know what that is? Familiar with that? So it's a design technique where on any given screen, you need to have something that's in the obvious bucket. What is so obvious on the screen that it's self-evident? I know what I'm doing on the screen. You have the easy. That comes next, right? That shouldn't compete with obvious, but it's very close. It should be something like if I'm opening a checking account on my phone, I should be able to pull up a list of fees and quickly see that. The third bucket is possible. That's everything else. The problem with that is, I'm sure you all know, it's dealing with lots of different people. Everyone thinks that theirs is obvious and easy, or should be in those two buckets, when in fact, the vast majority should be in the possible bucket. So the move to mobile forces us to adopt techniques like that. We have to really think about, why is this pixel on this screen? It allows us, it forces us to stop thinking in terms of like, well, this is kind of a bad design, so let's just explain it with a bunch of instructions. The crutch, and people aren't going to use it, and you simply cannot do that on a mobile device. So the shift toward mobile is going to be huge. I'm sure that Jim from PayPal is going to have a lot to say about that. It's just, the opportunities are huge. So I don't want to take too much more time, but just to say that it is a challenging industry. It's a really hard space to be a UX designer in. But the opportunities are really, really vast. I can't think of too many other industries where so many people use it on any given day and rely on it so much. And where the technology is so old that you have all these other challenges to overcome, but really it's a great opportunity to impact the way people interact with their own money in a huge way. So, that's it.